Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, morning, wherever you are. This is the sixth edition of Foodies of Conversation Alumni Edition. If you have missed the previous live sessions, we are hosting these conversations to introduce members of our ecosystem who participated in any of the educational programs organized by Future Food Institute. Let it be the food innovation program or any of the summer courses or the boot camps organized by FAO. And here is my guest for today, Lise Van Wijk from South Africa. Hi, Lise.
Hi, Julia.
Okay, great. So connection is all fine. I was just telling the audience a bit about the conversations. And so these sessions are around 30 minutes. We will learn about Lisa's personal story and connection to the Future Food Institute and how her journey continued after graduating. And we will also learn about her local food system, how she is experiencing the current state and situation. And if our time allows, we will also dedicate some time to answer your questions. So please feel free to post your questions in the chat, and I will make sure that we won't leave them unanswered. And now I would give the stage to Lisa to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Julia, for having me. It's nice to see all of the Future Food people again. So I joined with Julia. I was part of the Food Innovation Program in 2018, which is the master's program dedicated around researching food innovation and global food disruptions. So as part of the master's program, well, actually, I was working for a poultry company as a product developer. And I found, like, I think it was in 2017, where I saw a couple of these meat mimic products on the internet, like the Beyond Meat products, and they just became quite common, I think. And we found a lot of them going around the food news and on Food Dive. And I thought it was an amazing food technology application that they could use to actually create a more sustainable food system. And that's why I started Googling about food innovation master's programs that I could potentially be part of. And I saw the food innovation program, which was a great program, exactly fitting to what I wanted to do. Just researching food innovation around the globe and looking at which disruptions are actually happening and how to create a more sustainable food system. And that's how I met Julia, and I'm part of the Future Food family.
Exactly. Yeah, 2018. It's like 2 years ago. I don't even know how fast it went by, but still,
Yeah, it was
I
like
hope we will
yesterday.
once. Yes, and I hope we will once reunite in Reggio Emilia and we can eat Evazzone for days.
Pizza.
Yes. And so during our program, we also went on a global mission, traveling for 60 days, and we were all dedicated to a research topic. And it was kind of obvious which topic you will pick. I remember I was a bit hesitant. I had like two options what I can go for, but I assume for you it was, yeah, okay, future of protein. That's it. And you joined Anusha and Oriane, who were already on these sessions before. So please tell me, how did you experience that 60 days, both on a personal level, but in terms of how did it open your horizon in terms in this field?
Yeah, so I think for me, what was really interesting, looking from specifically a food science, food tech background, and especially from a meat production, coming from a meat production society where like poultry production was my norm. It was interesting to see how different people viewed it in different perspectives, and I think it was great for me to be able to be part of a team that was firstly Anna, which is the butcher's daughter, and she researched the topic from her perspective, and Anusha, which was a vegetarian from India, and she also researched the topic from her perspective, and me specifically coming from a food science and meat production background. So I think for all of us, it was really interesting, and looking at signals and finding people and looking at people all around the world and how they are trying to find solutions to create a more sustainable way. And I think for us, we were kind of overwhelmed. I think all of us after Global Mission, we were kind of overwhelmed with all of the information that we received on Global Mission, and we didn't really know how to organize everything or organize our thoughts into a kind of structured framework. And Anusha, I know there's a photo, a picture of me and Anusha still on Global Mission, saying look for perspectives and not solutions. And I think it was nice for us to then look at the book and try and divide that into what our perspectives was on how people are actually approaching to find more sustainable protein production and methods. So then we divided the book into more sustainable agricultural transformations, because we know that like the protein industry and the meat production industry is still really important, and it does feed a lot of people. And there are a lot of people that are trying to make significant ways to improve the sustainability of actual meat production. So we looked at agricultural transformation and how to include regenerative agriculture into best practices. And that was the first topic of our book. And then another topic which I was specifically interested in was the novel industries, which included the meat mimics. So these were completely new industries that were kind of reinvented, and people tried to find ways to develop new protein products from non-animal sources. So one of them was the plant-based proteins, which they use specifically like pea proteins or any of the other plant proteins to create a product that tastes and satisfies like meat. So for meat eaters, you can eat the product without any of the sustainability issues that are associated to animal production. And then the other part of the novel industries was the cultured meat side, where they take a stem cell out of the animals and they put it in a petri dish, and then they can grow a beef burger or a chicken burger without actually slaughtering an animal. So I think from an ethical and a sustainability perspective, that was also really interesting. The cultured meat, I think, is still quite a way off. So for me, the plant-based proteins was a feasible solution for now for us to start looking at. And then lastly, we decided to just divide the book into consumer behavior, how we can nudge consumers to start eating less meat. And there we went to really interesting places like the Google Food Lab, which they actually take meat and they put it at the end of the buffet so that you would dish up less. They try to use meat as a garnish and not as the main or the center of your plate. And that would just nudge people into trying to not think about meat all the time as they're eating. So they actually mentioned that they tried to implement the Meat-Free Monday, and they had a lot of backlash from all of the employees at Google that said, I don't, like, my company shouldn't tell me what to do. And this was a more feasible way for the employees to actually to buy into the eating less meat without feeling forced that they have to. So yeah, that was then that we came back and we decided and we put the book into those 3 topics, and yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah. So the books what Lisa was referring to are called the Food Shapers, and you can find the digital version of them under foodshapers.org. You will see all 4 editions, or not editions, but the different research topics. One was, as Lisa explained, the future of protein, and then the other 3 are the future of food service, circular economies and sustainability, and the last one is agro-innovations in smart cities. So basically, after all this happened and we graduated, you returned to South Africa, and somehow your path actually continued by joining the company called Infinite Foods, who is the main distributor of plant-based products in the sub-Saharan countries, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Infinite Foods, it's actually a startup company that our founder, Michelle Adelman, started in 2018, November. And the aim of the company is to distribute the best plant-based proteins in sub-Saharan Africa or on the African continent. So in November 2018, they launched with the Beyond Burger, the Beyond products, which are the plant-based meat mimic products. Initially, the launch was only with the Beyond Burger, which tastes and satisfies like a beef burger. But then they included the sausages and the mince in the range. And initially it was only sold in food service, but now it's also in retail, in South African retail, so you can buy it in Woolworths. I think the main thing for the company is to bring the best plant-based products to South Africa. So it's not only the Beyond range. We actually launched the Miyoko's product also in specialty retail and for food service, and we're going to launch Oatly very soon, which is oat plant-based milk, which is a great product.
I can spot the barista version behind you on the shelf.
Yeah,
I think that's one of their.
This is
exactly. Nice.
Oatly.
Okay, so you even have all these in the apartment in case you would get a sales visit, so you can already showcase the product.
Yeah.
Nice. And how did the market resonate or react on the products, and how do you see that changing now with the current situation of COVID-19?
So I think plant-based products in general have been growing. They are, exceeding what the expected growth would be globally. So it's been very well accepted in South Africa. I think exceeded forecast by a lot. We can't keep up. People are loving the products, and we can really notice that people have a need for the products. I think if you look at the history of why people are starting to eat plant-based, there are three main factors that they are considering. The one being, if they look at an ethical perspective, that I think people don't feel comfortable with the slaughter of animals or factory farming as it is. And then the second one should be if you look at your own health perspective, and that would be after, I think the WHO classified red meat as a carcinogen, and that reduced the red meat consumption, and I think consumers wanted to kind of divert their eating habits into a more plant-based diet. And lastly, if you look at the sustainability aspect thereof, so the FAO also released a study where they said that livestock production actually contributes to about 14.5% of greenhouse gas emissions. So that's also a major factor for people to start considering. I think that really accelerated the adoption of plant-based protein products for consumers, and they really have, if they didn't find any one of those three factors, like one of those three factors would fit into what their personal needs or for their eating habits will be. I think if you look at COVID and what the impact will be for that on plant-based protein consumption is, I think, if you look from a public health perspective, I think it's brought an additional factor for consumers to start eating. I think if you look at the effect of animal to human transferable diseases, people are trying to stay away from factory farming and eating wild animals just to reduce the zoonotic diseases. And then also just to look at antibiotic resistance. So it's always been a topic of conversation, but I think just because COVID is such a big part of our life at this point, I think we're realizing that, or a lot of consumers are realizing that there could be a public health aspect to trying to go into plant-based protein consumption as well, not necessarily only the other aspects.
Yeah. So do you also feel like COVID kind of opened certain information channel to people, because you said FAO released information, and let's be honest, the majority of the citizens, they don't necessarily read what FAO published. So do you think that COVID actually opened channels what can help consumers to make more educated food decisions, not necessarily only in their protein consumption, but also other foods?
Yeah, I think it's another important aspect is how obviously nutrition and food security is important for us now. We really do have a big impact if how important eating a healthy diet is for, well, having good nutrition is for a healthy lifestyle and a healthy diet. And but in having a healthy lifestyle and a healthy diet, your immunity is better off to fight off these diseases. And I think it's very prominent in developing countries that have reduced nutrition or do not have, they've undernourished, or they don't have enough food, that the effect of big diseases like this is a lot more prominent. So I think even if you don't read the articles, it's so obvious and in front of you at the moment that you actually have to notice where the problems in the food system lie and how we can actually approach the food system as a whole to start finding solutions to provide better nutrition, to get food security for all countries, including developing countries. I think it's very prominent and important for us now to provide nutritious food products for, entire communities. And like they need to have access to those food products. I think one of the obvious things that we're struggling now with is to redistribute food from a farmer to someone that doesn't have enough food, because the farmer can't sell the food products anymore. And there are people that don't have enough food. So to find solutions like that and to try and link them to get good nutrition, to find great quality produce, and to improve living standards as well as health, I think is really important. Well, I think it's notable now, and I think everybody is noticing it, not just because it's in an article somewhere, it's just because it's there and it's in front of you.
Yeah, because they live in it. Yeah. And so you mentioned that you sell the product, so your company is distributing into retail and food service. And I assume that also in South Africa, food service is one of the sectors which are suffering in the current stage. So that volume, what you are not able to sell through food service now, could you redistribute and sell rather in retail? Did the demand there grow equivalently?
So I think you're trying to find solutions for everything. I think worldwide it's a problem. It's not only in South Africa where the problem lies. I think for all products that used to go into food service, there is a glut of in the market at the moment. But currently, I think if you find a solution, like our products are at least frozen, so you can keep them for a while. But to find channels, and I think an important consideration is e-commerce. So people do still find that's where you try to make up the volumes. People do still try and buy online. They're just changing their buying habits, but they still are buying. So for us, yes, definitely, I will never throw away the product, but it's to find the right fit for the product. But anything is possible.
That's true. So if we look more into your shopping basket now, or your procurement, how did your food consumption and buying behavior changed over the last weeks?
I think personally, my buying habits didn't change drastically. I buy a lot less. I go to the shops a lot less. I do sometimes buy online. I don't really. I like to go to stores and I like to see what's there and then pick from them. I think that's a need that I have. I don't know. Some people love online shopping. I struggle to enjoy online shopping. I think from a food supply perspective, as I said, the farmers are now the farmers that used to deliver to food service customers, they're actually starting to deliver to customers at their houses. They join together and now they can make a basket of fresh produce that they actually deliver to your house. there's been a big influx on online shopping. I think a lot of the retailers had to change a lot of their, or to quickly find better solutions to actually be able to keep up with the demand of online shoppers. So even though I started, I buy a bit more. Like I actually started buying online, whereas I never did. It's still not a lot, but I don't go to shops as often. I try to buy more when I'm there. And I mean, the something that's not great is if you don't go to shops that often, then you struggle to get fresh produce in your house when the end of the 2 weeks is there. So, and I think this will be a great opportunity for those farmers that are struggling or that can't deliver to the restaurants to deliver to my house, and I can still go to the store every 2 weeks. So even though I haven't been doing it, I think I'm going to start.
Right.
Just to support the farm.
And did you, how did you experience yourself? Are you trying more products what you haven't tried before, or do you stick to the ones what was anyway always in your basket?
I probably try new products. I don't know. I don't think I'll try new products as I've tried them before. I do try new products when I'm in a retail store, but I don't think I try more products now during COVID.
Okay.
Maybe I should think about changing my shopping behavior, but more. One thing that
No, it's just the question was more about thinking about those new products coming on the market. What could be their go-to-market strategy? Is it like, are people more experimental just to try, because actually retail is their only source of food at the moment, or like buying the raw ingredients and then mainly cooking at home? So it's just interesting to see how these evolve over time. And well, now I am
more canned foods now in retail.
Yeah, definitely more shelf-stable product. That's for sure. Exactly. Yeah. So disregarding COVID now, how would you imagine your preferred food future? What would you like to achieve in your local context or even globally? It's up to you. What would you like to see changing in the food system?
So I think, as I mentioned previously, that the COVID pandemic has really brought to light how important nutrition is for good health, and how important good health is for, especially for developing countries, and not making them more vulnerable than the normal developed countries that have access to good quality food products. So just to find the link between good nutrition, good quality food products, and giving everybody everywhere, especially in developing countries that struggle, not making them more vulnerable to pandemics like this, but just giving them access to what they require to maintain good health and to be on the same standard as any of the developed countries. So I think it's really bringing to light that we need to focus on distributing good quality produce in a fair way to everybody, and trying to find a way that even if we have a pandemic, it's easy to get food to people that really need it, and to ensure that they're in good health and that they've got good quality nutrition to help them not overcome diseases, but battle them when they do actually arrive. So I think for me, it's really important for us, and as a government and as a community, to really start focusing on good quality food distribution, and even food distribution, not the unequal distribution. It's really brought to light how unequal society is at the moment, and how some people have an abundance of access to good quality produce and others don't. And I think it's important for us to make sure that good quality food is accessible by all.
Yeah, that raised also a question in my head recently. You have all these initiatives to redistribute surplus food, But now with all the food safety concerns, it is getting maybe even more challenging than it was before. So I really hope that we will not forget all those steps what we have taken already before the pandemic. And that's also related to packaging, for example. I do understand why all these reusable cups and boxes have been stopped, food service providers stopped accepting these things, but then we have to find another way how not to restart overusing plastic packaging again, or
Yeah.
continue,
We're
basically.
just rethinking everything from the start now, and I think it's a good time to start thinking about everything with everything that we've learned before, and try to implement that into the solutions, and not forget about
Yeah.
what the previous learnings was.
Yeah, maybe it's not a completely empty page, but I do believe that we can do some restart right now. And there are actually a lot of platforms who are like starting conversation about the topics. There are endless of hackathons and initiatives running virtually right now. I'm also very happy to see how these virtual platforms are getting more alive to actually connect people from multiple locations and maybe learn from each other's best practices and try to implement in your local context. With this note, I would also highlight that tomorrow we have another conversation under hashtag Good After COVID-19. That's a bi-weekly roundtable discussion organized by the Institute and I think now over 40 food shapers. So I encourage everyone to join into the live session. And Lise, thank you so much. I'm so happy that we could connect and hear a bit about your story. And the next session is, today is Tuesday. That means the next session is next Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Central European Time. So we have always 2 sessions per week, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, and to cover more time zones and cover the global ecosystem, we do one in the morning and one in the evening. And once we generated already enough content, we will find a way how to also share these videos for later availability. For now, it will be still available for 24 hours on the Future Food account to watch. So thank you so much, Lisa. And well, I see you maybe on another session as a listener.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.